Sweet. All right. Well, in that case, we shall start the show in 3, 2, 1. Eh. Welcome to the Mandatory Social Interaction Show. I'm your host, Eric, along with the enthusiastic Ben Burns. How are you, Ben?
Yeah. Oh, I'm tired. So that name doesn't really work at all. Otherwise, I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's been a couple weeks. Been a hot minute since we've done a show. We took a bit of a break for the holidays, actually, I know you've been busy, Ben.
Yes.
So I'm wondering what were you up to for the holidays, and what's been keeping you busy?
First, we should mention that Tim's not here right now.
Oh, very
he
true.
Is on assignment. He has a work-related thing, I believe, for this weekend, so he's not able to be here. As far as what I've been up to, it's been mostly the holidays, which is great. It's good. It was good holidays. I hope you had good holidays too. I know you were down in warm Florida. Sticky Florida.
Yes, the first week was really nice weather-wise. The second week was hot. Which, what's funny is, like, and that's the funny thing is, difference between, like, living up north here where we do and living down there is, like, it's like 80 degrees in Florida, and up here that would be, like, nice. You'd want to be outside, and in Florida that's just a sticky, humid, gross, like, don't want to be at all out, anywhere near the outdoors. Whereas in 80 degrees up here is like, oh yeah, you want to be like outside the whole day. So, and I'm always warm anyway, so it's just
a mess.
Florida's a mess for me. It doesn't work out too well.
Yeah, we're going down to Arizona, down to Tucson in a couple weeks, and I'm really looking forward to having 80 degrees but very dry. That's like my favorite weather, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. The kind of western states are on my short list if I ever do move away from Minnesota. I've been out there. We took a trip a long time ago to like Las Vegas, but we also went to the Grand Canyon and a few other places. And Sedona was amazing. It was like hot during the day and dry, and then at night it was 40 degrees, and it was like the perfect amount of everything. And I was like, I could totally live up in the mountains out there. It would be fantastic. I could do that. I could do the Western deserts.
Less bugs too. I mean, that's kind of the problem with Arizona is you got like scorpions and a bunch of other
scorpions
not very friendly
and poisonous snakes. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the one thing that worries me about moving down there is that all of a sudden we have to deal with like, oh, you might die today. So there's that.
Well, I mean, I suppose that's true. That's true anywhere I mean, I suppose if you go wandering out without a jacket for too long, you could die today here. But so anyway, so what did you do for your holidays? Anything special? Did you get anything cool for Christmas or?
Christine gave me a sub, which was very, very nice, a subwoofer. So I've been using that a lot lately. I've actually been producing music not on headphones, which is actually a very profound difference. I still like the headphones, but being able to have a better idea of how the music is shaped, because the headphones don't have a very good bass response. It's actually been very helpful, and that's good. Really, aside from that, Christine had some planned surgery after Christmas, and so it's been mostly just kind of making sure she's okay, getting the pills, making sure she walks around, and that kind of stuff. But it's all good. She's recovering very well.
Yeah, so. I will admit, and I think Foxy is on to me, when you said Christine got you a sub. I've apparently been around Twitch too long, and all I thought of was a Twitch sub.
Yes, she subscribed to my channel.
I was like, well, that's an interesting gift. No, but that's great. I'm glad that that's working out for you. That's something that I've noticed too. I don't actually have a subwoofer, but I do compose when I write music. I tend to use my monitors, and then periodically check the headphones.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like uh, having open ears. Um,
Yeah.
I love my headphones. These are great. Actually, I think they're the same ones that you have. Or
Yeah, I think I recommended them to you a while ago.
yeah, and I love them, and they sound amazing. And I use them for gaming, and I use them for writing music.
Hmm.
But there's a point where I really would just like to not have them on my head.
Yeah.
Um, and so like composing open air and then being able to like check my subs in the headphones and stuff is actually really good.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's
so
a new experience for me because I haven't written music without headphones on for probably 10 or 15 years.
gotcha.
Because I always had reasonably okay like headphones and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like, why would I bother? Because I had like crappy computer speakers or I'm on my laptop, but now I actually have a reasonable setup. It's not like it's not sound treated room or anything, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I mean that is one thing that that a lot of the podcasts and whatnot that I listen to about audio production. That's one of the big things they say is treat your room. Is that's like the big next step
Yeah.
is room treatment. Um, but I think that's hard to do on
Yeah.
on a hobbyist amateur budget.
Well, not only that, this room in general isn't good for treatment because
Well,
there's so many windows and I don't want to cover up the windows.
and
So,
that's what I mean. Um, in terms of because part of the budget there is like having a room and having a place to that's treatable, that's like usable. So it's like you almost have to look for a house that has a room
yeah.
that would work. You know what I
And
mean?
that's on my list next time I shop for a house, but
Oh,
yeah.
sure. But I mean it's one of those things that's like, easier said than done, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you're a producer in a 2-bedroom apartment, you're kind of taking what you can get,
Mhm.
you know? So I don't think there's I think the theory of no, you have to have a treated room is sometimes a little bit
Mhm.
overdone or like just not possible for some people. And I think
Yeah.
the trick to that, I think, is you kind of just have to check your mix in basically everything. Bring it in
Yeah,
your
and there's so many people out there that say, you shouldn't watch the dials. You should always, do everything by ear. And honestly, I feel that and this goes for more than just music, but it's more about how it feels, yes, but there are metrics, and that's why those metrics exist, that there are things that you can like watch, and if they follow those various things,
yeah.
just like with the compression and with EQ and everything else, um you follow those dials and you can still get a pretty reasonable thing. And when I was talking to Garden Sound about mastering for the One Last Bonfire album, he was like, I when he does mastering services, he does his own like one, and he does one that's made by the robots,
Yeah.
by like Ozone or whatever, and it's like the mastering service wins at least 50% of the time, like the pre like the robots just doing it for me. And it's like, there's a science to all of this, and there's a
Yeah.
reason there's a science to that, and that science is based on math. So you can get pretty well, you can get pretty far just by using what you have available to you. You don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars for a professional setup to create professional music anymore, and that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I haven't tried yet is the pro mastering services.
Yeah,
But I'd like to.
I got Ozone Elements on sale late December. I think it was like $30 or something, so I can run
Wow.
stuff through it. Yeah, it was a good deal.
That is a good
I
deal.
think Yeah, I was looking at like Plugin Boutique, I think, or something.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What was I gonna say? So something cool that I got for Christmas is
Yeah.
I got a couple of things. I got a second Raspberry Pi,
Oh, cool.
which is neat. But the cool thing that I ended up buying for with the Raspberry Pi in mind is an SDR setup, which is software defined radio.
Hmm.
And essentially it's like a mega tuner. So it can tune like frequencies from like 200 kilohertz up through 2 gigahertz.
Hmm.
Which might not
Wide.
mean
Yeah.
a lot until you start to like look at, okay, your typical FM frequencies are right in the center of that at about 88 to 108 megahertz. At 144 megahertz is your 2-meter ham radio band. At
Hmm.
440 something megahertz is the 70 centimeter ham radio band. Um, Basically, all your like aircraft traffic is in the like 126 to 138, I think, is airband.
Hmm.
When you start laying it out, it covers a humongous swath
Yeah.
of the radio frequency. And the cool thing is, being software defined, you actually get um, like a, what do they call it, a waterfall of the entire frequency spectrum. So you can actually look at more or less the entire frequency spectrum around you and tune in what you want. As a matter of fact, people have used these for tuning in the NOAA satellites, the weather satellites.
Oh, yeah,
And if you record them as they go overhead, you can actually process the images.
yeah. Yeah, I've heard of that. That's super cool.
Um,
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to use that for music production.
Actually, yeah, that's what. So part of the reason I got that is I'm fascinated by like number stations, and I don't know that
Yeah.
I'll pick up a number station up here. I don't think there are any that are like real local to
No,
Minnesota.
no, I can't
However,
imagine.
I think it'll be fun. There's some local airports near me that I should be able to pick up. Their like tower frequency and stuff. There's all kinds of interesting radio traffic going on around here. And I am a ham radio operator, or at least I'm licensed. I don't really have a setup. I have my stuff, but I don't have it set up.
Hmm.
Yeah, it for me. I think it's going to be a fun thing. And what I'm going to do is I have an upstairs bedroom that's basically kind of a third story on the house,
Hmm.
and I'm going to throw the antenna up there and hang it off of a Raspberry Pi, and essentially make a little, I don't know, for lack of a better word, antenna server. That then
Nice.
on any of my other computers, like my laptop or my desktop that I'm on now, I'll be able to tune into uh, the stream coming off the radio, and then I can process it on the any of the other computers.
Hmm.
So yeah,
That's really cool.
I know it's not entirely creative or music related, but it's going to be super cool. I was playing with it. Um, it should not just be the same song repeating.
Okay. I keep hearing it, like little snippets of it, and I can't remember if it was the same one. Sorry, I
Um,
didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, that's okay. It's also down really low, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's okay.
it is randomly picking from a bunch of songs.
Okay. Don't worry about it.
So anyway, yeah, I know it's not like super music or creativity
Oh,
thing, but I don't know. It's something that I'm into, and I'm looking forward to messing around with this year.
it's an enabler for creative stuff. That's the thing, and I think that those are just as important.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
Carbonic is admonishing me for responding to the chat on the show, but that's okay. Yeah, no, Ben was asking if it's the same song in the background repeating over and over, and it should not be. So,
Well, I'll let you know if this is still playing in 10 minutes.
yeah, exactly.
No, it's all good. But yeah, another big thing that happened recently was I posted a video an interview with Edmund Mcmillen, who was the developer for Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac and a lot of my other favorite games. I had the opportunity to chat with him really mid-December, but we didn't have a chance to post that because I didn't want to post a video like during the break because nobody would see it. And it was a really, really good talk. And I'm glad that we were able to get together and chat about that, aside from being a little starstruck, talking to Edmund. But we talked about a couple really important things. One of my favorite topics, and one that doesn't really get talked about a lot, is the patience that is required as a creative person to actually get popular. Just because everybody I've talked to in the past has been doing it for at least 10 years before they really kind of broke through and became, more aware in the, I think zeitgeist is the right word, where it's just like the public mind, you're more of a part of that. And you're always kind of doing what you love for a very long time until people you build that audience and you start recognizing, or people start recognizing your work. And I think that it's such an important topic to talk about.
Yeah, well, that's something I was kind of curious, how that went. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And that was something that I was. First thing I wanted to say is congratulations. I mean, that is a huge, in my opinion, that's a huge get. To be able to talk to him. And I've seen a little bit of stuff from him on Twitter and whatnot, and he seems like a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's a super cool dude.
And so how I am curious on a general level. You've talked to a lot of creative people over in that series, and I'm wondering, what are there like 3 or 4 maybe general things you hear from basically everybody?
One of the things, and Carbonic, I wanted to respond to that. His favorite quote from the talk is, "The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is today." That's not originally by me. I can't remember who it is from. I know Northern Lion, who is a YouTube Let's Player, he says it once in a while, and I think I got it from him. But as far as creative exploration, one of the main parts of the format for the series is that I ask the same questions to everybody because I want to know the difference in answers. My favorite question to ask is like, what do you define as success? And I don't think I've had the same it's a Chinese proverb. That's interesting. I don't think I've had the same response from everybody or anybody. Where I think with Edmund, I'm trying to remember what Edmund was. I know with Bo Beats, it was just it was engagement. It was like not necessarily recognition, but it was like making people engaged enough in his YouTube videos to actually get responses and start building a conversation. And with Edmund, I believe it's just like, I'd feel bad if I was wrong with the interview I just posted, but I think it was just like being true to the art that he's making and just being very satisfied and happy with whatever you're putting out. And I'm so fascinated with how everybody defines their own personal success differently. And it's one of my favorite questions to ask. It's been a lot of fun to do those interviews, and I have a couple more lined up. I actually want to interview Christine. She's not over there when she's feeling better. Because I think that'll be a really good talk too. I have Micah, who does some YouTube stuff with Garden Sound once in a while. I'm gonna try to talk to her. I have a buddy, a screen printer that I talked briefly with, that hopefully we can do. So, oh shoot, just a second. I forgot to get the milk out for her. She has a weightlifting.
No, go for it.
Yeah, you respond to that.
I will absolutely go respond to that. So I'm gonna talk to you here in the chat. So when Ben comes back, we're going to work on him because this is what I want to do. We should do a very special creative exploration wherein I interview Ben and turn his questions on himself. What does everybody think about that? Yeah, I think that'd be fun. So we're gonna spring that on Ben. I'm not gonna do it right now, but we'll plan it. And I think this year we should do that. I think that'd be fun. So I got a yes from Carbonic. Anybody else think that's a good idea? Or we lose everybody. But I think that would be fun. I think it'd be good. Get Ben answering his own questions. Yeah, I'd like to do that too. I'm curious what his answers are. And we could do that to Tim too. I think that would be fun.
Okay, sorry about that.
Hey, no worries. So
Ben's a nerd.
So
yeah, I am.
So I was talking to the chat, and we would like to do something maybe this year, and that is we're going to take over your creative explorations one time and turn your questions on you.
Oh, sure, that would be fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. That would be really good. So I would love to interview you, but if you have someone else in mind, that would be fine too. I
don't have anybody in mind. Yeah, you and Tim could like say tag team me, but that came out.
I mean,
happens enough on this stream.
Wow. Well, the other thing I was thinking is, one of the subjects we should do also is Tim. You should do Tim at some point, which also sounds horrible. But yes, you should have Tim on creative explorations at some point, because I think he would. I think he would have interesting answers to your stuff.
Okay, I posted the questions that I ask generally in I ask people. I posted those for you, so you have those now. And yeah, we can do one for Tim as well. I forgot. I thought I did one with Tim, but that was with Shaka Panda. So yeah, I would most certainly like to do one with Tim. I think that those would all be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we want to do one for you too, that's totally fine. I think that all of those would be
I would be very flattered. I definitely feel like I wouldn't be wouldn't belong among the same company that you've already interviewed, but I do appreciate it.
That's not the point. It's not how popular somebody is. It's the perspective that they bring to the creative experience. That
would be cool. That's
far more important than me than how many followers anybody has.
Yeah, I would very much enjoy that. That would be cool. I would love to. Yeah, so I think that we'll let's schedule that stuff for sometime this year. I think that would be fun.
Yeah. We'll talk to Tim and try to figure it out. I figured maybe it'll be something we do over like maybe the month of March or something. Yeah. We can each Saturday we can do one of those and we can figure it out.
Yeah, that'd absolutely. So something I was thinking about and I wanted to maybe bring up this show is I don't believe in New Year's resolutions.
Nope.
I don't believe in them in the sense that if they work for you, that's great. But I feel like in terms of I'm gonna lose those 10 pounds or I'm gonna like all those things tend to be. You by the end of January, you've either forgotten about them or given up on them or whatever. But instead, I know, Ben, you're a big goal setter.
Yes.
And something that I was thinking about this year is what are my goals for this year? And so a couple of things that I was thinking about is like I have some goals this year, like taking a few more risks in terms of doing things and doing like socially, and when I say risks, it's like, rather than sitting at home, going and doing something social or joining a group or something like that, right?
Absolutely.
I don't mean risks like, hey, I'm going to go bungee jumping off the bridge. Not that kind of risk. And one thing also I would like to do is get more into my ham radio stuff that I haven't done in a long time. And I would like to possibly join something like ARES, which is the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, which is a volunteer organization that is, prepared if everything kind of goes sideways. They, set up a communication net so that people can, get the word out about whatever's going wrong. And I think that stuff's cool, and I'm interested in it. And I have other creative goals as well, but I'm wondering, what are your goals for this year? And they can be amorphous, right? I mean, it doesn't, and that's the thing. I think what I'm trying to get across is, they don't have to be their goals for the year, and B, they're not like, I think, and like one of my goals also, instead of lose 10 pounds, one of my goals is, hey, I'm going to join the gym. And I'm just going to go to the gyms for, I'm going to make an attempt to do something healthier, right? Like, that's my goal. My goal is not like, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. My goal is
having a strict number to try to base your success off of, like, a Boolean answer is not the right way of doing it.
Exactly.
So I guess as far as my goal, if I were to have one, is to do less.
Hey, that's good. That's good.
I 2017 was insanely busy, and 2018 was essentially me recovering from burnout, especially the latter half of the year. So I'm trying to find a way to meter the amount of work that I do to make it sustainable. And I think that that's the best thing I can do as far as a goal, is just to make it so the work that I do is sustainable long term, because that's what you have to do if you want to make your work a business and you want to go full time with it. And as far as what you're talking about with, like, New Year's resolutions versus goals, we were actually talking about that in Discord around New Year's. And I spent a moment trying to dig it up, and I said, I feel there's a difference between saying I want to do this stuff next year and I want to be a better person starting on this arbitrary day.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I feel about New Year's resolutions and why I think they're stupid. Where it's just like, you can change yourself on any day. That's not like having a new year as some kind of, like, delineation of time. That's whatever. It doesn't matter. You just, if you want to be a better person, start doing it now. You don't have to wait until next year. But it's all about setting goals and making sure that you have those goals that are actually attainable, and you start working toward them. And I think that that's so much more important than being like, I want to be a better person January 1st. But, until then, I can keep eating cake, all the cake I want. It's just, that's so weird.
Although I will admit, I do think there's a couple of important things there. The first thing is, I do feel like during the holidays, you should give yourself permission to just eat all the cake.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, within reason, but, like, some of those things I thought, you know what, I'm going to start these things after the new year because it's the holidays. We're all, there's tons of food and cake and stuff going on. And nobody wants to be like, no, I don't want to have that chocolate cake because, I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
It's Christmas.
No, absolutely.
Everyone wants to have that.
And that's why you have goals instead of resolutions.
Exactly.
Because those goals are flexible and resolutions aren't.
Yeah.
And like, basically November and December is awful if you're trying to eat correctly.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, the thing for me is, I think of these things as gradual things that I'm going to do over the course of the year. You know what I mean? Like, joining a gym obviously is not a gradual thing, but the gradual part of that is I'm going to join a gym and I'm going to make some effort at going there and doing the thing, right? And working out. Does that mean I'm going to get there every day? Probably not. Does that mean?
No, you keep talking. That's absolutely correct. There's just a cat that's messing around with the cable right now. I need to me to handle that. But I have my headphones.
And does, like, and same thing with the other resolutions is like, I want to, get more into radio, and I want to get more into, other types of like social things, and the thing is, I look at those things and say, okay, those are things I can start doing now, in terms of I can make some progress towards, but those are overall like things I want to start doing that are perpetual, and that it's like, yeah, if I don't do it today, that's okay. I want to have those things go, for the course of the year, not just like by March 1st, I want to have, I want to be king of the world. It's like, these are things I want to do this year, and they're kind of the bucket list, and you kind of either check them off as you do them, or just when I'm thinking about what I want to do, going like, oh, I should make some progress on this. I should maybe take some steps to do this thing. Or when I'm looking at, like the next kind of iteration of something, I can say, oh, well, I could start pushing this direction and see where I get to.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why I've been starting to use Trello again for managing my projects. So what I do is I have my like long-term backlog of all the stuff that I want to do eventually, and then I kind of dump that into a monthly bucket, and then I parse that out weekly, and that's just my tasks for the week. And I think that it's actually helped me quite a bit, just try to keep on track. I used to do this like a year ago, and then I kind of fell off the wagon, and now I'm starting again. And it's very good to have that kind of organization, be like, okay, these are my long-term goals. How do I get to them? And then you can start creating steps to get to them, and then you can start filling that into your monthly project list, and then you can so it's all one step at a time. And Fenn had a very good saying that the only way to take 1,000 steps is to take one step. So like, you just got to start somewhere.
Oh, exactly. And I like the idea of having kind of goals, and then being able to look back at them, maybe at the end of the year, and saying like, oh, I made progress on these goals, and hey, these goals kind of hit the back burner, and and that's okay. Maybe they become goals for 2020, or maybe they don't. Maybe it's like, I think I decided that I didn't really want those, and they were, and while I had them on the list last year, maybe that's not what I want to do going forward. And I like the idea of giving yourself permission to kind of have that. I agree with who said it. Where was it? It's Fenn. I want to lose 10 pounds by March as an expectation, not really a goal. And I mean, it could kind of be both. But I think the idea of setting these very concrete goals, while there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, I feel like when you arbitrarily say, on January 1st, I'm going to start doing this thing that I don't really do, and I don't really, I'm just going to like start out of the blue running 5 miles a day when I've never run 5 miles a day before. You're suddenly you're setting yourself up for failure, because after a week you're gonna be like, oh my god,
your legs will fall off.
Yeah, you're dying, right? Versus, hey, I want to start running more, and I'm gonna start once a week or twice a week, or I'm gonna run a mile, a mile, or what, however you set that up. Having the goal being something that's flexible, and something that's a little bit more of a process rather than a destination, I think is actually really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of some of the stuff I'm looking forward to this year.
I I have goals, but they're mostly just to make sure that I don't overwork myself, because I've been doing that a lot the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And while it has been good for what you might consider my creative career online, it's not good for me or my family.
Yeah.
So I need to make sure that I limit myself in ways so I actually have time to relax and spend time with people.
What's do you have a general plan for what you're going to do, how you're going to limit that?
I use my Trello board to give myself less work every week.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
So that's kind of basically what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make sure that I'm still doing my recurring commitments, is what I call them, like my music streams on Wednesdays and hopefully some video work. But overall, I'm just going to make sure that what I do plan for myself is both doable within the week and also something that doesn't drive me crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've picked up small commissions along the way, and I'm sure I'll pick up a few commissions throughout 2019, and that's going to happen, and I'll just make sure that I slot them in correctly. But living by commitments, and that's what I did a lot in 2017, where it's like, well, I have to release a video on Friday, and I have to do my stream on Wednesday, and I have to do something on Monday. I had like all of these things going on every day, and I made it through. I did fine. And I was also making and releasing Color Jumper through that time too, and I did fine. But coming down from that was so hard, because all of a sudden I had all of this stuff that I felt like I needed to do every week, and it did not leave any time for anything else. And again, that was probably great for what you might want to call a career online, but it was very destructive overall. And I don't recommend people do that, especially for such an extended length of time. But I guess you live and you learn.
Well, sure. And I mean, that's one of those things that it sometimes takes, we learn from our mistakes, and we learn from, or like, hopefully, right. And we also, learn by, life is learning by failure, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you burn yourself out, you have to kind of learn from that. Okay, what are my limits? Where can I, I've said this before, I think, on the podcast, and I'll say it again. There's a reason that we record this live to tape, and we stream it live on Twitch, is I don't want to sit and edit it. I mean, literally, if I had to sit and edit the show every week, I wouldn't do it. I would do 3 of them, and I'd be like, all right, never mind. Because I just know how much tolerance I have for that, and how much I would obsess over editing it, and how he said let me take out the it would be obnoxious. So if I have to sit and edit something, that's way less sustainable for me than if I can do it like this, where it's like when I'm done, other than maybe some trimming at the beginning and the end, just to have a coherent, show starts here, show ends here. That's all I do every week, other than getting it posted in various places, which is enough work in and of itself. But that's a sustainable workload for me.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's something I can do every week and not be like, oh my God, I've got so much to do. And you have to kind of find that balance. And I found, and going back to like learning by mistakes, I've had many iterations of shows that I've either done by myself or I've done with friends that needed to be edited, and never got off the ground, or we did 3 episodes and we gave up because it was so much work to have an edited show every week or however often you were doing it. So for me, I kind of learned that the hard way of, hey, if I'm going to do a show, it needs to be in a sustainable way. So I started looking at shows like Twit or Night Attack or any of the shows by like Justin Robert Young, who basically do what I would call live to tape, where they, they sit on Twitch, they do their show, and then that is the show. There's no, unless there's some kind of major failure in the middle, there's no edit. Which I really like.
Yeah, Jank brought up a really good point, and it's so easy to fall into that suffering is good mentality. And I was talking about that earlier, I think, relating to sleep, because there's that very popular saying that sleep is for the weak. And I've been learning, and maybe this is partially due to my old age, but I've been learning that sleep is not for the weak. Sleep actually makes me work way better than trying to force a project out when I'm exhausted. And I see all of that stuff online where, if you're not suffering for your art, you're not doing the art correctly. And that actually genuinely makes me angry, because when art is done correctly, you are enjoying the process. You're not suffering for it. And I feel that a lot of that stuff where it's like, oh, if you don't quit your job and live under a bridge, you're not a real artist, and all that other stuff. It's like, no, you have to do this stuff sustainably, because again, if you're not doing it sustainably, you won't be doing it for more than a couple years or a couple months.
Yeah.
And you have to, if you want to be successful, you have to play the long game. You have to keep doing this for years and years and years, and you have to build an audience. And yes, there's always people out there that, make it big over the course of, 6 months or something like that. And, that happens. But first of all, you're playing really low odds if you want that route to happen. And second, those people usually don't stick around very long once they get popular. So it's like, yes, you can play the route where you're suffering, and you're playing the route where it's like, it's like I sold all my other stuff just to buy synths, and like I'm eating rice every day and all that other stuff. It's like, yeah, you can do that, and you might build an audience that way, but they won't. They care about the drama, not the art. And it just bothers me that that's still such a thing, that it's like, if you're not suffering, then you're not doing your job correctly. It's like, that's not.
Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's, it's funny how much that's kind of the myth.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go.
I think a lot of that is survivor bias as well, where it's like, yeah, all of these people who are super successful, like, oh yeah, I struggled for so long, or I struggled and I sold my house just to, master this album or whatever. And it's like, yeah, and it worked for you, but it didn't work for thousands of other people. So like, survivor bias is a huge issue with this as well.
Yeah, and I definitely think it, like you were saying, it's like you're kind of selling the drama. Like you're, or not you, but I mean the somebody who's a, starving artist who gets popular is kind of selling that story of, I was starving on the streets of New York and blah, 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 blah. And they're almost selling that as like a romantic, like, here's the, and I think what's funny is how many artists, all the artists that are doing it sustainably are kind of under the radar in terms of that story. And you don't see it as much, but yet you have countless big budget games come out every year with artists behind every single aspect of it. You've got music that comes out every year that, I mean, there's a huge community of artists that are doing things sustainably that are just selling their art and not selling the drama. And those, because they're not selling that story, I think it gets less play because that story is popular, and now it's a what do you call it? Kind of a cliche, or kind of a like everybody knows that story. So when you feed into that narrative, it's like, oh yes, that's exactly what has to happen. And not a lot of people get play where it's like Junkie XL, who, presumably can sustain what he's doing for the rest of his life. you know, or like Hans Zimmer, you know, I mean, like those guys are not burning themselves out. They're, you know, they work on a film and it's like, you know, they do it at a sustainable rate. They know how to make it work. They've got families and other stuff, and they have figured out that balance. That doesn't get a lot of play.
To them, it's a job, and that's what it is. They treat it like a job. It's not something that it's not all consuming. It's not something they suffer for. It's their job. And like, it's not a pejorative. It's not a bad word to have a job. Like, it's just, that's what it is. It's just something you do and you get paid for. It's not
absolutely.
Like, it's not like, oh, this is like my 9 to 5. I hate this so much. It's like, you know, I like my day job too. I think that my day job is great. It's not what I want to do for the rest of my life, but I like it. So, you know, it's a job. It's not a bad word.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is, I think there is a movement though to look at it as a career and a job and less as a struggle. You know, when you start really, when you look at the YouTube creator movement, the J word is definitely jank. Really, when you look at the kind of creative and maker movement, it seems like a lot of those people are starting to talk about sustainability. Like even Andrew Huang, you know, basically said, "Hey, I'm taking a break because I did overwork myself, and I'm going to step back a little bit." And then, you know, be and come up with a more sustainable way to do what I do. And he did that very publicly. And I think that helps. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know,
it absolutely helps. And being aware of that stuff is very important.
So, I was abducted by aliens. I mean, you can tell, right?
A little out of context, but somebody in chat asked if we were.
Yeah, Benbo the Beast asked if we had any experience with alien abduction, and I'm going to think we're safely going to say no, but Tim is currently abducted by aliens. That's why he's on assignment. We have contacted Mulder and Scully, and they're going to investigate.
Oh God, that's a blast! I used to watch X-Files when I was a kid.
I liked X-Files too. X-Files was a good show.
That show was weird.
So
that show was super weird. It was kind of like it was a little bit like Twilight Zone, but it was grounded more in reality and like in a serialized format.
Yeah,
which was like super cool. But like every week, there's a couple that I remember where it's just like, you know, this guy is going crazy because they removed his ability to sleep, and like what kind of weirdness is gonna happen today? And then there's like that smoking man who like made an appearance once every like 3 months that didn't really do anything, but like was used as a MacGuffin to like advance the plot. It was such a weird show. I should watch that again. I have a feeling it didn't age super well.
So yeah, it probably didn't. I enjoyed the movies, and I did enjoy the like the kind of big overarching plot with the smoking man and stuff like that. And some of the Monster of the Week ones were good too. So
excuse me. Yeah. It's a bit of a deviation there, but yeah, I kind of miss that stuff. I don't watch as much TV as I used to, that's for sure.
Yeah, same here. So, well, I'm kind of thinking this is a good place to wrap up. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think we're good. I know with Tim not here, and I'm kind of bouncing between like 2 or 3 other projects right now, so I think that we're good for now. But yeah. Is Tim going to be around next week? I know we talked about this stuff like 2 months ago, and I don't
remember. Think so. But we can kind of take a look offline and see what
January 12th and 19th is Ben only.
Yeah,
assuming with you as well.
Yeah,
yes,
right. Nope, it's just you, man. You got to carry the whole show next week.
I could do that.
Yeah, you could.
It'd be boring, I think, but yeah.
So anyway, so we're gonna wrap it up today. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us and hanging in the chat. We always appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So let's see. We've reached our social interaction quota for the week. Where can people find you on the interwebs, Ben Burns?
You can find me online at Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, and YouTube at Ben_Burns. That's BURNES.
And you can find me at ZaxaCMK on Twitter, twitch.tv/ZaxaCMK, and youtube.com/EricKleinCreate. Our show is available on Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, and wherever fine podcasts are sold. Our website is mandatorysocial.com. Our streaming overlay was created by Maris MIntrovrt Alicke. You can find more of Maris's work at marisalicke.bandcamp.com. Our song is Protofunk, or the theme song anyway, is Protofunk by Kevin Macleod. You can find that at incompetech.com. And the background music, as always, was by the very talented Ben Burns. You can find more of Ben's music at abstractionmusic.com.
Thanks.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Have a good week.
Yeah, you too. Well, you as well. Whatever.
Sweet.
Yeah, leave that.
Oh, that's staying in. That is 100% staying in.